Okay, good morning, everybody. It's Cale Casey on Sunday, October 4th, back with our special guest from yesterday, Brad Washa. Thank you for all the comments on Brad's piece as our strategic planner. Real quick, thank you to the Hayforkers for all your concern and care for the firefighters. The camp is up and running and doing great. We really appreciate your looking out for them with the postcards. They'll be able to send those home. Also, a bunch of new videos on YouTube, and they tie into Brad's piece today because we had the weather clear out yesterday. When I drove out to the Ruth Valley area, boy, was that sunshine bright, and the smoke had all cleared out. That picked up fire activity in certain areas. We had a nice backing fire off of Picket Ridge. We had fire come down to containment lines. We have the videos of the fire crews mopping that up. But then we also had some fire growth off to the east, Brad, and so that was part of that clearing. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. So yesterday, we had a little bit more of a northeasterly or northwesterly wind.
You can pull down.
That pushed the fire, or pushed the smoke away from the fire. One thing we're seeing, we have critically dry fuels out there, so all the dead material that's on the ground to the live fuels. So those are critically dry. When you get that solar radiation, because there's no longer smoke over the fire, that dries out the fuels even further, and we get increased fire behavior. So we did see that with the winds out of the northeast, cleared the smoke out, had a little more increase in fire behavior, and midday it even increased or removed some of the smoke over the east side of the fire.
And so this is what, the Texas Chow Basin in here, and the main head of the fire built up some momentum. Is that what happened here?
Yeah, so it was up here around 1 o'clock yesterday by what we're calling drop point 125. They had been bringing fire along the edge here to try to stay in front of the main fire itself from doing exactly what it did yesterday. Yesterday about 1 o'clock they had adverse winds, so the winds were actually coming out of that northwesterly component, and if you would be lighting that off, there's a chance of fire spotting outside of the control feature, which was a road that they've prepped over the last few weeks. And so they weren't actively lighting yesterday. Heat started building up again with that, with not having as much smoke, with that solar radiation impacting the fuels down here. Texas Chow Creek, it made a run up to the ridge line and spotted across the ridge line around, I think, 5 o'clock or so. I know I was driving in and seeing more smoke, and I actually thought it might be this interior section burning out, but it was actually making that run there. And it's now established itself in the headwaters of the middle fork of the Begum Creek drainage. And so, yep, probably about 600 acres is in that location at this point in time.
And we just had a meeting with CAL FIRE and other folks, and looking at there's always 4 plans when we fight fire, right? Our primary was to hold it on the 35. Main fire boiled up, made a run. We were trying to keep up with it, but when it does that, that's Mother Nature. That's actually been the theme. We have 3.9 million acres in California that burned this summer, predominantly because of that effect, right? This buildup, wind, spot fire. So 600 acres over here. Now we'll work on boxing this in. We know folks in Platina and Wildwood are paying attention here. You're not under evacuation orders currently. We do have assessments from both fires going on for this area anyway, correct, Brad? And so your modeling doesn't show this making a big run anytime soon.
We've only done some short-term modeling. We do have concerns with Begum Creek because, as you know, in the evenings you get this down canyon, down slope, and it becomes pretty predominant once you get down by Platina and that. So we are watching that, and that will, want to suck the air down from here. Our short-term run for today does not show Begum being a major factor. It's actually showing the fire moving a little bit to the southeast.
That'd be North Mountain there and some other landmarks, Round Mountain, Lookout. I guess they probably sound the same to locals. And then a little wind shift today, pushing back, hopefully?
We're anticipating less of a northwesterly component moving to the northeast, and then actually to the southeast with even less winds than we had yesterday. So a little bit of change in what we're seeing for the weather.
Okay, great. I know you're heading out to the field. I just wanted to thank you, and I know folks, especially in the Platina and Wildwood area, Deer Lick, all these areas were, of course, very concerned, and so bringing you in helps them understand where we are, giving you the information every day. This is day 19 of the live. I'll release you to get back out there. I know you're heading out there right now, aren't you?
I was heading up to the...
And you'll go get field measurements and actual on-the-ground assessments of the fuels and everything?
Yep.
That's part of Brad's job. So thank you, Brad. We appreciate it.
Thanks
I
a
know
lot.
folks who are watching appreciate it, and drive safe out there. Be careful. Keep in touch.
Have a good day.
So for the transition today, we now have a whole lot more division supervisors, branch managers, and overhead in the Ruth Valley and Hettenshaw area. That's really good news. So one of the big challenges that we had when we got on this fire 19 days ago was we had 600 resources spread over 320 miles and not a whole lot of qualified supervision. That's one of the challenges of the 2020 fire season, is when you have 32,000 firefighters working nationally, which is what's been going on for the past 6 to 8 weeks, as we've lost homes all up and down California, Colorado, up in Oregon, Washington. As you know, you've been tracking, and it's been impacting us all. We don't always have the qualified upper management positions to be able to have what we call span of control or leadership control. The addition of Pacific Northwest Team 2, who took over not just the south a couple days ago, but now all the way up into the Ruth Valley, Mad River area, is that they're going to break this one branch that Alaska was managing. We had this branch and a second branch and a third branch. They're going to divide branch 21 into 3 individual branches. That means instead of having one branch director over this whole area, you're going to have 3 branch directors. Each branch director supervises division supervisors. Every hotshot crew, engine crew, and person out there, like a contracted engine or dozer or excavator, reports to a task force leader or strike team leader who reports to the division supervisor. So having those additional leadership overhead mean that they'll be able to have a lot more span of control, a lot more oversight as they break this area. And we've been putting video up last night again, so you can take a drive from Flying AA Ranch. I think I turned the camera on. Jacob Welch, thanks for driving. He's one of the new information officers who'll be posting videos, but I have my camera out the window. We gave you about a 3-minute stretch in here. I gave you another stretch looking back towards this ridge, this western ridge. You can see the smoke in there. You can see the impacts. We put another video of the fire backing off of the picket area coming down to the road and containment lines. That's a desired effect. You can see the grass and savanna burning quietly last night as it came down. We have some pictures on the Facebook page of the Journey's End store. Journey's End yesterday looked like a whole staging area. Engines, crews, people working all around. So I know some folks and one of the locals had asked me about Journey's End. We put a video up a couple days ago, but then we put a photo up again last night just to show you how secure that is. We have a lot more resources in here. I've been coming in the valley now the last couple days after the fire effects, the erratic fire behavior. A lot more crews, a lot more engines, folks mopping up, folks working. We do caution those locals. I did see some locals out there with 5-gallon buckets trying to put water on some interior stump holes. Fire crews aren't going to focus on interior stumps that have black all around them and no values at risk, because there are values at risk still. The homes, the fire line, the direct attack. So please be careful out there. I know what we call those as political smokes. And so in any fire, whether it was the one in my community last year that burned down those 54 homes that I've told you about several times, then there become the political smokes after the fire, the ones that candle up. Maybe they're 300 yards from a home or 200 yards from a home or 50 yards from a home, but they're surrounded by black. They're not going to spot out because all the fuel has been burned. And firefighters learn quickly to identify their priority lists. What are the priorities and how do we attack them, and what can be the lowest priority? So we saw some locals out there working on what we would call the lowest priorities or political smokes. Please be careful when you're doing that. They have ash pits. That's why, again, we wear these big Nomex pants and boots, and we have our everything secure, so when we step in there, we don't get a flash burn. That's very common. What'll happen is folks will step in and they'll get a flash burn on their calf or somewhere because they don't necessarily know how deep it's going to be when they try to get close to something. So I understand in your mind that's a priority for you, but we have looked at all those. There's a lot of priority smokes that are more important, that actually would have fuel around them that could move in different directions. But as more crews come in, and as more engines come in, the numbers keep going up. We're the national #1 priority fire. That means we're getting more and more resources. And again, 3 branch directors, numerous divisions. So a whole new plan for this side goes in today. That means that the Alaska team has from the Hidden Valley area, and we put a video last night of the Tahoe hotshots working on burning a little bit of the 36 stretch right here at 54 Mile. Josh is going to zoom in there so you can see it. Okay, 54 Mile on the north side. The video that we put up last night, it's got a big red glow on YouTube, so check that out. Subscribe to that channel. That was fire right here, and the goal is the Tahoe hotshots were holding it because we don't want fire to spot over the 36 and then compromise this whole area, right? That's the Mad River corridor, that's the Van Dusen corridor, so that's why we're putting a lot of effort into trying to check and clean this up in here. Yes, the fire did jump to 36 last week, but we'd rather contain it on the north side. You can see the dozer line going in, and crews are working up the 14 road. They're working south and west of Rowdy Bear. They're working south of Indian Valley. Still good work going on in here, and lots more attention to it now that we have this span of control, or Alaska's taking from here to here, okay? So that's the video you saw. We're trying to keep that from going south. We do have fire naturally coming off the ridge now to the south, but we're trying to keep that line nice and separate. So as the fire comes down this way, we can contain it, and we don't have it shooting off to the west. We don't want it heading towards Pine Mountain and Upper Mad River and Van Dusen and all points west. So that's a little more explanation there. Speaking on behalf of our public information officers, Chris and Sarah and Carly and the crew on the west side, Kate and Maritza and Linda, a whole crew's over here ready to serve you on that side, and we'll be focusing more on the east side. But it is all one big effort. I'll check for questions real quick here from Mike and Josh.
You know, just some concern brought up about homes in the Mad River area on the road. What you saw, I think people saw a lot of, they're seeing a lot of fire, and,
Yep.
and a lot of it, maybe just explain how that works, and somebody who's been evacuated saying, is my home safe?
Sure, so we are very transparently filming and putting up that exact fire so you can see it. So just this morning, I was able to take from draft form to release form 3 or 4 videos showing what your concern is. So the fire scar at the top of Picket Ridge had fire in it naturally. It's backing down. It needs to come off these hillsides. I just want to remind folks, we don't send your sons and daughters hiking up mountains with snag patches in them to try to fight fire 2/3 of the way up a slope. Okay, that is insane. Why? Because as fire logs roll out and they get established beneath the firefighters, they burn uphill and put them in very much harm's way. So if you're armchair quarterbacking at home saying, why don't they just go up there and put it out like the old days? The old days, a lot of people got hurt, killed, bad knee injuries, shoulder injuries, watch out situations left and right. So we built checklists now that don't allow us to go up and do things that we know are going to put people in really bad situations. So the goal is to bring the fire down the hillside. Now, a question might be, why not just put it out right now with air attack? Well, you're in record drought conditions. These fires are very resistant. We had the fire bosses flying around yesterday, all the helicopters. You can see those videos. We put them up last night and this morning too. So you have to have a combination of air support to cool it and bring it down slowly, and firefighters to meet it where it can come safely. So that's what's happening here. Folks out in Mad River, you have a whole bunch of resources in here now, a whole bunch more than you had before. Engines and crews and what have you. More structure protection. There's hose lays all the way up the lower Mad River Road to the 36. Every single one of those structures has hose and more hose and piles of hose and blivets. And blivets are those orange pumpkins. So things are in better shape now than they were 3 or 4 days ago. That makes sense because 7 days ago we were holding the fire above the store. We had our containment lines where we wanted them. Things were coming down nicely, and then the wind event boiled up the interior of the fire and blew it out. That changes everything. Then we have a big reset, and now structure protection hose lays go all the way up from Journey's End, lower Mad River Road to here. Structure protection groups are assessing and have assessed all the structures up Mad River and what have you. And again, the goal is to keep it checked up on the 45 and 36 road, tied into the 36, and then brought down to the lower Mad River Road, sometimes above it and behind the houses. And we put a video of a map where a task force leader is showing you how these dozer lines are working in here, and lock off this whole area. That's the goal. And then you have your forward operating crews who will make sure that these structures are assessed. Good question. Okay, great. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. We'll come back tomorrow for day 20 of the Break It Down Live. The Alaska team's last day is Tuesday. We'll start seeing the Great Basin team come on in starting tomorrow. And big thanks to everybody who's all in this together with us. We know it's been challenging. We look forward to answering your questions again tomorrow.